Judging by these markers, that climbing trail Jekka talked about must be nearby. I should check up on her brother while I'm here. Take this to a dyer later. Most to Nox look wounded. What happened? That person looks like they're in charge. I should talk to them.
Wallbreaker. If you've come to witness the March of the Ten, you're out of luck.
Actually, I came looking for someone called Pento.
Pento? That poor scab was as good as dead even before the storm hit.
You're out of line, soldier.
What's he talking about?
The kid you're looking for is still up on the mountain, along with 2 others. Pento was the only one who decided to break tradition and climb without a partner. His odds aren't good. I'm sorry to say they never were to begin with. As far as being Tanak goes, he's got most of it backwards.
So what? You're all just waiting here? Shouldn't you be calling for help?
Couldn't find anyone in that storm, even if we wanted to. Those kids are at the mercy of the mountain now.
We'll see about that. But first, a couple of questions. Why is everyone so sure this Pento can't climb that mountain?
Our people are soldiers. We respect strength and agility. Pento has neither. Never has. He's been stuck on cleaning duty since he was a child. Yet he decided to undergo our clan's most difficult trial on his own.
And you think he's crazy for trying?
I'm not a fan of that word. When I chose to wear a woman's armor, people called me crazy too. I guess Pento just feels like he has to prove himself. To show who he really is. I understand. Believe me. But that climb is hard enough, even without a storm.
What is this march you mentioned?
This is one of the toughest slopes in Sky Clan territory. It's said that the Ten climbed this mountain in pairs during their war against machines. Our people partner up to earn their soldiers' marks by following in the Old One's footsteps and retrieving the Blood Crest. A flower that grows on the summit. Until Pento, that is. He insisted on climbing on his own.
You mean no one wanted to climb up with him?
I tried to stop him, but there were technically no rules against it, so I let him pass.
That sounds familiar. The Nora have a similar ritual. No one wanted me in that one either.
Their mistake, I presume.
Yep. I could try following the path up the mountain. See if I can find Pento. You said there were 2 other climbers missing as well?
Just one. The other is right there. Zika!
Rocco and I, we were climbing back down. There was an avalanche. We got separated. I couldn't see anything.
Someone's gotta go up there.
You can barely see your own feet in that storm.
Except I don't need to. I'll be back.
Are you wounded?
If the storm gets too rough, I can always use my markers. I should follow the markers. They'll lead me to the start. Markers. I'm on the right track.
You want some of this?
Sounds like someone's putting up a fight. That's not Fate's help.
Whoever you are, thanks for the assist.
You okay?
Not really, but I'll live.
Your climbing partner, she said you got separated during an avalanche?
My partner? Yeah. The avalanche caught us off guard. Swept me up like a twig. I was sure I was a goner. Then someone grabbed hold of me and pulled me out. It was Penta. He risked his life for me.
Did you see where he went?
Up that cliff behind you. Said he was gonna finish the climb. I told him it was suicide, but he wouldn't listen.
Can you make it back down on your own?
Yes. You're not going after him, are you?
Go. Get back to Wakata before the storm gets any worse.
May the Ten be with you.
I have to find Pento before he gets himself killed. I should use my focus to pick up Pento's trail. Those must be Pento's tracks. Let's hope I can catch up to him. Strong's... Looks like the avalanche destroyed most of the climbing path. The missing soldier must have climbed up this way. Pento. The path must have collapsed after him. Maybe I can glide across. I should be able to pick up Pento's tracks again. I wonder how much snow is gonna pile up.
Get out of my way!
Let's hope that's Pento. like we could use some help.
Who's there?
A friend!
Brittle.
Penta?
Do I know you?
Wakata sent me. We need to get off this mountain, now.
No. I'm not going back there as a failure. I am getting that flower no matter what.
Look, I know what it's like when your tribe looks down on you, but you—
Then you understand why I'm either gonna get to the top of this mountain or die on it. Thank you. What are you doing?
This climb is meant to be done by two people, right? I'll be your partner.
I'll follow your lead. You should take some of these.
Looks like the trail carries on here.
No? You know my name, but I don't think I caught yours.
It's Aloy.
You sure you want to involve yourself with the Bulwark's biggest loser, Aloy? I'm leaving
I like to make my own judgments about people.
You know, it's not like everyone can be born with a sword glued to their hand, but apparently that's what it takes to be Tenakth. This is my one shot at proving everyone wrong.
Well, sounds like you're as stubborn
What
as
was
the
that?
Tenakth I've met. I don't know.
Maybe it's just the wind.
I hope so. It's a dead end.
There's a climbing spike left over from the original path. Not that it's of much use right now. Sorry. That was amazing!
I'll knock
Found
this tree
something?
down! It should let us reach the climbing path!
You won't hear me complaining. I'll just wait here for you.
We should be able to jump onto that climbing path from the tree.
That's some climbing gear you've got.
Thanks. It's time to start climbing.
That doesn't sound like any storm wind I've ever heard.
Almost there! This is it.
I can't believe we actually made it.
Let's get to that summit then.
Frostclaw! Just what we need.
We can handle it. Come on. Much better.
Got it! Come on! This way, Aloy!
Wait up! Storm. It's easing up. So, how does it feel to make rank?
Pretty great, actually. This means everything to me.
You know, even if you go back with that, It doesn't mean they'll treat you any different.
Honestly, I think I just need to prove to myself I could do this. You should go back. Let the others know I'm okay. I'd like to take a moment, if you don't mind. I'll be right behind you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Snow's melt. I can probably reach the bottom of the trail faster if I use my shield wing. And get a nice view, too. Everything looks so peaceful now that the storm has passed.
With the reach of the podcast, I can sell me some DVDs. So how about everybody out there and try to talk some sense into some other people and do something about this, and don't just sit there and take it. And don't just walk up like goddamn Oliver Twist with your fucking gruel bowl in your fucking hand and say, please, sir, can I have another bowl of fucking shit that I can eat? And put up with this stuff going on in this country and around the world and in your life because it affects you. Go out and do something about it. Whether you have to vote generally for a Democrat, although Bernie is still an independent, but you know what I'm saying. Anybody progressive, anybody liberal is going to be able to do something about this fucking constant foolishness that we get from these people. Whether it is the gun issues, or the people's rights issues, or the planet's rights issues, or anything that anybody ought to care about. Vote for them, spread the word, make fun of them on Twitter, make sure people don't take them seriously, because the only way we're going to get rid of this fucker's still going to be able to stack the Supreme Courts, and who knows what kind of fucking who shot John laws we're going to have for the next 25 years, thanks to this goddamn reality show, game show host getting elected president. And we can't let, and did you see in the fucking news also, the coal miners in eastern Kentucky are refusing to be retrained because now Trump has told them coal's coming back. So these fucking hillbillies down there, instead of, wouldn't you want to be, they're trying to retrain them for free, Brian, for other jobs, for other careers, instead of crawling around in a hole in the ground, risking your life and health. And then, President Trump says coal's coming back. Well, you fell for that, sucker. And then you missed your chance at another fucking career. But that's what's going on because this fucking idiot. Instead of leading people like Barack Obama, he's fucking just trying to keep elected with the fucking 30% of the people that are stupid enough to fall for this horse shit. It's working because we are not mad enough. So I suggest we get fucking mad and we do something about it, and we let people know that they can't get away with this shit, and we vote the fuck out of them out of office. So yes, I'm saying this to get people mad, because I'm pissed off myself. All right.
It goes without saying that Tony Khan's purchasing of such a historic promotion in Brigham
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about Russia's next mistake. And to be honest, it looks like they've already decided to make this mistake. And they are starting to enact it as you're watching this. I believe that this is something that is likely to have some unforeseen impacts down the road. At this point, this has been going on a while, Russian command is aware of the fact that their troops, they're not doing well. This isn't going the way they planned. That's why they're trying to bring in people from outside. And they're still in the first phase of this. They're in the conventional phase of this right now. They haven't even started dealing with the heavy unconventional stuff, the hit and run stuff, the stuff the U.S. was dealing with in Afghanistan and Iraq.
I should be
For 20
reaching
years.
the
They're not too down. What they've been dealing with thus far has been pretty conventional, and they're not doing it. Which means when it gets to that second phase, to that unconventional phase, these troops, they're not up. They do not have the skill set.
Don't say that.
So, because of that, Russian command understands that all Ukraine has to do to win is fight. They don't even have to fight well. They don't have to win in battles.
He's my
My
brother.
brother.
They just have to
You can't go crying like that, Jekka.
Russian resolve.
This is what
The
proper
Ukrainians
soldiers are now.
find themselves in a situation that the Afghans or the Vietnamese were in.
I bring you the flesh traps.
They have the
from
clocks.
my part.
Ukraine has the time.
What's my blessing?
All they have to do
Join our ranks.
is fight.
May you find your path on the wings of the Ten.
So,
You got it! You're kidding!
the only way to change this would be
Soldier!
to shift things dramatically. Embrace
Flour or no flour, we all know all the lever is good for is
that
cleaning
Russian
everything.
command has kind of decided to go scorched earth. Care a little bit less
I think
about
we're
where
done
things
here.
fall. A lot of cities. That is something that
Better put some snow on
is
that.
likely to have
Thanks for saving my
unintended
life.
consequences.
Maybe when I get my
This isn't a
missus
country on the other side of the world.
Give me a
Give me a
chance,
chance to return the
This is a
favor.
country that shares a border with them. This is a country that, in an attempt to manufacture a pretext,
Go on.
Russia
I'll catch up.
distributed passports in,
Here,
genuine
something
Something to commemorate our climb.
May the
May the
10
10 always grant you victory.
those people
I'll see you around.
who were caught up in Russia's strategy shift here, or more importantly, those people whose families get caught up in this strategy shift. They are not far from Russia's home front. It would not be surprising to me if because of this, Russia had incidents at home. I hope it doesn't happen, because like all of this, it will be the civilians who get caught up in it. I also don't think it's a good idea, because on the world stage, the world powers are lining up behind Ukraine. But if something like that happens, if that T word gets thrown out there, well, that may change things. But the thing is, the people who would do this, it wouldn't be the Ukrainian government. They wouldn't order that. This is going to be an individual or group of individuals. People who, well, they don't have the ability to go home to their family once it's over, so they have nothing to lose. They're not going to be people looking for strategy. They're going to be people looking for vengeance. This move stands a really strong chance of going down as the worst failure of Russian command in a long string of failures in this conflict. The unintended and unforeseen but unconventional phase, these troops, they're not up to it. They do not have the skill set for it. So, because of that, Russian command understands that all Ukraine has to do to win is fight. They don't even have to fight well. They
They just have to continue to fight. Eventually, it will break Russian resolve. The Ukrainians find themselves in a situation that the Afghans or the Vietnamese were in. Sure, Russia has the watches. They've got the clocks. Ukraine has the time. All they have to do is fight. So, the only way to change this would be to shift things dramatically and break Ukrainian resolve. So it appears that Russian command has kind of decided to go scorched earth, care a little bit less about where things fall. Level 6. That is something that is likely to have unintended consequences. This isn't a country on the other side of the world. This is a country that shares a border with them. This is a country that, in an attempt to manufacture a pretext, Russia distributed passports in. Genuine passports. Those people who were caught up in Russia's strategy shift here, or more importantly, those people whose families get caught up in this strategy shift, they are not far from Russia's home front. It would not be surprising to me if, because of this, Russia had incidents at home. I hope it doesn't happen, because, like all of this, it will be the civilians who get caught up in it. I also don't think it's a good idea, because on the world stage, the world powers are lining up behind Ukraine. But if something like that happens, if that T word gets thrown out there, well, that may change things. But the thing is, the people who would do this, it wouldn't be the Ukrainian government. They wouldn't order that. This is going to be an individual or a group of individuals. People who, they don't have the ability to go home to their family once it's over, so they can run for those. They're not going to be people looking for strategy. They're going to be people looking for vengeance. This move stands a really strong chance of going down as the worst failure of Russian command in a long string of failures in this conflict. The unintended and unforeseen that can come from this can last a really, really long time. It can become cyclical. It can cause a lot of devastation. Set aside the moral aspects of Russia's new strategy. And set all of that aside for a second. Set aside the geopolitical stuff, where they're going to lose standing on the international stage for years and years to come. Set all of that aside. Set aside the lies. From the Russian military standpoint, this is something that could bring the war home. Could bring it to their towns, to their cities. And if that happens, it will be nobody's fault but Putin's. It will be nobody's fault but Russia's high command. This is something they should see coming. The likelihood of people wanting to take things into their own hands after their hometown is destroyed is pretty high. Russia needs to stop this. The chain of events that follows. And once those dominoes start falling, it's really hard to stop them from continuing. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day. Normally, we like to focus
focus this part of the show on complex, depressing policy issues. Something fun, like CO2 emissions from hearses, or space poverty, or the proliferation of special-purpose taxing districts, a topic so boring you didn't even realise we literally already did that exact story last year. And we want to keep doing those kind of things, but unfortunately we can't until we address something even bigger, the concept of reality itself. And that is because of this guy. Now, since taking office around 412 years ago, Trump has made it clear that reality is not important. He's exaggerated the size of the British crowd, and the second election was marred by mass voter fraud. We don't really prove of that. He also, of course, dictated almost impossible for Christian refugees to get into the US. Even lying about the weather during his inauguration. It was unfortunate. The leadership stated that the flag would be very safe not to let a leader during a speech. No, he didn't. First, it did rain while you were speaking. That's why you were holding up an umbrella, and people behind you were wearing gloves. And second, because it was to be in the Roman tabernacle. Could you not put silence or silence in this thing too? didn't, and no one's ever heard of a GDP below zero because that is fucking impossible. Now, any one of those nonsense could have disqualified him from office, but we were so accustomed to Trump's nonsense, people could just shrug it off as Donald being Donald. Even his own advisors, like Peter Thiel, argued that people shouldn't worry about his statements because he didn't really mean them.
I think a lot of the voters who vote for Trump take Trump seriously, but not literally. So when they hear things like the Muslim comment, the wall comment, and things like that, it's not, the question is not, are you building a wall like the wall in China, or how exactly to enforce these tests. What they hear is we're going to have a saner, more sensible immigration policy.
Oh yeah, that is definitely the sense I got from watching those Trump rallies. Yes, while we are all humorously chanting "Build that wall," we all understand in this context wall is a clever use of autonomy, or a figure of speech in which one word, wall in this example, is used as a stand-in for a saner, more sensible immigration policy. Now, if you will, let's unpack Trump for a bit. And yet, the travel ban literally happened, and as for the wall
is getting designed right now. A lot of people say, oh, Trump was only kidding with the wall. I wasn't kidding. I don't care.
Exactly! When he says he's going to build a wall, he means it. Now, it might be 30 feet high and labelled 156 stories, but assume that it's coming. So it was worth taking him seriously. Trump was telling the truth about his solutions to the problems he was lying about. And he is now making real policy based on fake facts, which brings us to our second question. Where is his information coming from? Now, Trump himself has admitted he gets a lot of it from his media, which may explain why he speaks so confidently about cable news staples like crime and terrorism. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts aspects of government, like the nuclear triad, he struggles. And he famously blocked a question on the triad during an early debate in an exchange that ended like this.
I think nuclear is just the power, the devastation, the strength.
Now that is terrifying. The components of that triad are important. It is unacceptable not to be able to name every single one of them. They are nuclear weapons, not your children. What is her name, Donald? What is her name? I'll give you a hint. It starts with T, and it's not the other one. Hope that as president, he'd now be getting information from primary sources and briefings, but Trump still watches a phenomenal amount of cable news. His tweets frequently echo things that just aired on TV. Just 2 weeks ago, he tweeted, "Ungrateful traitor Chelsea Manning, who should never have been released from prison, is now calling President Obama a weak leader terrible," which is interesting, because Chelsea Manning never used the words weak leader, but that phrase was used on Fox News just 15 minutes before he tweeted in a segment which also called Manning an ungrateful traitor. So the president seemed to tweet about whatever information he just saw on cable news. If someone changed the channel to the Sprout Network, he tweets, "Caillou's life is boring even for a cancer kid. Sad." Now, to give you a sense of just how much he watches cable news, a few hours later he was on Air Force One, and you could actually hear the commercials from Fox News blaring in the background.
Good night.
That's real. That is the Empire Carpet jingle playing at full blast. Trump just made the interior of Air Force One sound like the living room of an old person who died 3 days ago and who nobody's found yet. He watches so much cable TV, he presumably also gets daily briefings from this guy.
I'm a professional cowboy, and I use catheters. Been cowboying for 25 years. I've broken 14 bones, had 2 concussions, and a broken lung. I know pain, and I don't want any more of it, especially when I can.
Okay, stop. I have so many questions. Is calf a real verb? If you've only been cowboying for 25 years, what did you do before you were cowboying? And why are you in a library and one that doesn't want to overdo it with the books? You fascinate me. But Trump
watch cable news. He also takes information in from frighteningly unreliable sources such as Breitbart, the organisation which gave us Steve Bannon, now Trump's chief strategist. Breitbart has published such Pulitzer-eligible stories as birth control makes women unattractive and crazy, racist pro-Nazi groups of Planned Parenthood revealed, and hoisted high and proud, the Confederate flag proclaims a glorious heritage. You know, the kind of headlines you see your old high school friends share on Facebook and think, oh, that's a shame. I guess Greg sucks now. But Trump's trust in Breitbart actually goes way back. A few years ago, Trump was challenged by Bill O'Reilly, who correctly pointed out that his claim that thousands of Muslims were seen celebrating in New Jersey on 9/11 was based on no evidence whatsoever. And this is how Trump responded.
Well, I don't know that I'm wrong, Bill. You know, this just came out from Breitbart. I mean, literally, it just came out. Trump's vindicated, 100% vindicated. This has to do with thousands of them recorded. This article says they were swarming. And Bill, this article says they were swarming all over the place. So I don't know what that means, but it means a lot of people.
Wait. Holding up a Breitbart article does not make you seem more credible. You might as well have gone, oh, hold on a second, Bill. Hello? Okay, thanks. Sources are saying I'm right, Bill, but sources... Talk to my sources, Bill. And Trump's sources get even worse, because he also cited Nazis to support his Muslims on 9/11 claim from Infowars, a website run by this guy.
Hillary and Obama want to make you poor and pathetic. You have all their white papers. They hate you. They hate prosperity. They hate God. They hate children. And goddamn them to hell.
That man is Alex Jones, and that is actually him at his most presentable. That is Alex Jones at a job interview. That's Alex Jones meeting his girlfriend's parents for the first time. Now, in his more outspoken moments, Jones has argued that the government has the ability to control tornadoes, that the Boston Marathon bombing was a false flag attack, and that tap water is a gay bomb, and that they are putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. And then there is the Sandy Hook statue.
Yeah, so Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. I knew they had actors there, clearly, but I thought they killed some real kids. And it just shows how bold they are, that they clearly used actors.
Now, that is not just offensive. It's stupid. If the government had actually hired child actors, there is no way their stage parents would have stopped talking about it. Well, he didn't get the Tide commercial, but he did book a leading role in the government-sponsored false flag attack. It's the same director who did the moon landing. We're very excited. Trump is apparently such a fan that Alex Jones himself has said it is surreal to talk about issues here on air, and then word for word hear Trump say it 2 days later. And I've been skeptical of that. If Trump hadn't gone on Jones's show and said this.
I just want to finish by saying your reputation's amazing. I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope. And I think we'll be speaking a lot.
You know what? I guess it makes sense that Donald Trump wants to impress Alex Jones. Why would you want to drain the swamp if not to eradicate all those gay frogs? You stay there. You two stay where you are. This is really dangerous, though, because there is a pattern here. Trump sees something that jives with his worldview, doesn't check it, half remembers it, and then passes it on, at which point it takes on a life of its own and begins to validate itself. Let me try and show you that machine in action. Trump's constant claim that millions of people voted Lee originated, as far as anyone can tell, from some dude on Twitter who claimed in November, while providing no evidence, we have verified more than 3 million votes cast by non-citizens. The next day, Infowars picked that up, and it spread like jet fuel among the right-wing sites. Now, it was quickly debunked by multiple outlets, but despite that, days later, President-elect Trump started tweeting about millions of illegal votes and serious voter fraud in states like California. And by early December, people were on TV expressing similar concerns.
Voting is a privilege in this country, and you need to be legal, not like California, where 3 million illegals voted. Where are you getting your information? From the media.
And that right there actually answers our third question, why so many people believe Trump. Because if you get sources, do you? As many people do.
Aloy,
He
over
doesn't
here.
look like a crack. He looks like the first president ever to tell you the real truth. But rumors can be really tenacious, and I'll prove it. What rumor do you think when you hear the name Richard?
Aloy, the outpost is just over there.
There is no
Are you ready?
he did that.
Rebels aren't going to give up.
It's ridiculous. Have you ever
Then
held
we'll
one
have
of
to
those
take
things?
them.
There's no way it was
They didn't stand down when Regala was
If the
defeated.
president went on TV,
Doubt they'll surrender now.
I
What
knew
matters
it.
is the
Thank
prisoner
you.
of color.
I knew it.
Maybe
Finally,
she
someone
knows what
said
Caval's squad
but that loop gets much more
Okay,
dangerous when
let's
you're
head in
talking about something as silly as Germans. Trump validated his supporters' beliefs about voter fraud, and in turn, they validated his. Because even when he was directly confronted with the lack of evidence, this is how he responded.
You know what's important? We as a people agree with you. If you would have looked on one of the other networks, I will with the people that are going in, they say we agree with Mr. Trump being the biggest people.
Right, but just because they believe you and you believe them doesn't make it true. This is like Peter Pan, where believing in fairies will keep Tinkerbell alive. This isn't a magic thing, Peter. She has Lou Gehrig's disease. And maybe instead of clapping, you should have done the ice bucket challenge, then she'd still be alive. I'm sorry, Peter, but she's dying. Tinkerbell's dying. The point is, even if you take the kindest approach and assume Trump made an honest, innocent mistake and passed along a news story without checking it, when he was presented with a lack of evidence, he disregarded that fact, at which point he is lying. And it seems no one in the White House has a problem with that. Because when asked to justify the president's views, this is what Sean Spicer did.
And the president had believed that for a while, a long-standing belief that it's
Maintain close
for a while. As a chief believed this for a long time. It was a comment that he made on a long-standing belief. I've asked to answer this question twice. He believes what he believes based on the information that we're providing. What does that mean for democracy? Yeah, I've answered your question.
No, you haven't, Melissa. No, you haven't. Because the incidence of voter fraud is a verifiable fact, and facts aren't like Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton. When you confuse them, it actually matters. Real people get hurt when you make policy based on false information. Billions will get spent on a move that won't work to prevent a crime rate that isn't happening, while refugees sit in dangerous situations to prevent Bowling Green style massacres that never took place. So, what are we going to do? Well, the press is going to be a key element in helping us sort out fact from fiction, and they are under attack. This administration has seized on small corrections in news coverage to paint critical outlets as fake news, attempting to delegitimize all of them. And this is only going to get worse. Steve Bannon has already labelled the media the opposition party, although there does seem to be one exception.
News report said the only seat that was reserved for the media at Trump's news conference Wednesday was in the front row, and it was for Breitbart News.
Oh, that is some blatant favoritism. You are Snow White introducing the dwarf, saying, meet Grumpy, Sleepy, Sneezy, fucking awesome big dick cool dwarf, and the three others. And if you're not thinking that Breitbart went out of their way to ask a challenging question, think again. And I actually have two follow-up questions. And will you let me know when you're going to come? Just tap my head. Tap my head.
I'll rest here until you return.
With a completely digitized press, you're only going to have one source to get your news Getting your people directly from the leader is basically North Korea. And I'm quite sure that our leaders should be able to pass on this information to absolutely everybody, regardless of politics. Republicans are sensitive to remain intact, just in case the Democrats ever find their own alien reality star to win back the White House.
Come in, Lloyd. Got your task at hand.
Make America We all need to commit to effectively we should make extra efforts on social media to try and verify stories and advise the facts, that confirm our pre-existing bias. And ask questions of research like, is this a story?
You're right, Director.
Do those sources match? Maybe it's not trustworthy. Maybe some idiots. And because I know our president he does not watch this show. There is one small way we've actually created a system in the United
Our scouts said they saw the collar tied up on
Who's your
the
girl?
The triad consists of land-based missiles, submarine launch missiles, and aerial bombers. This increases our ability to strike back if one of those is destroyed, and deters an attack on us or our allies. So that's the nuclear triad. There's a data person who might really need to know that.
Guys, we'll add some more uploading. All these tunnels in the DC area. Until we've shut down, we are prepared to educate Donald Trump one by one on topics we're pretty sure he doesn't know about. Here's just a taste.
It might seem like a show of strength to kill the family of terrorists, but according to the Geneva Convention, it's actually war. Not all black people live in the inner cities, and not all people in the inner cities are black. There's something you may not know. Appetizer food. Entree food. Now, I know it can sometimes feel as if you are the only person in the world. But as you can see here, there are actually many non-usual. We call those other. Just because sometimes it's cold, that don't mean there's no global warming. You're confusing climate with weather, partner. Gabon is a country on the west coast of Africa. The unemployment rate is a carefully calculated measure derived from a monthly survey conducted by 2 federal agencies and has been the agreed-upon standard since 1948. What we call the test. Just remember, if you don't know, it's okay to ask. See?
Story tonight, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, is Donald Trump. And I say that, knowing that every time his name is said out loud, he has a shattering orgasm. And look, we have mostly ignored Trump on this show, but he has now won 3 states, has been endorsed by Chris Christie, and polls show him leading most Super Tuesday states, which is a big deal. Since 1988, every candidate who's won the most states on Super Tuesday went on to become their party's nominee. So at this point, Donald Trump is America's backbone. It may have seemed harmless a year ago, but now that it's gotten frighteningly bigger, it is no longer wise to ignore it. And I do understand why Trump supporters might like him. He's unpredictable and entertaining. Just look how it went after Marco Rubio on Friday.
Did you ever see a guy sweat like this? It's Rubio!
That's objectively funny. Just as it was funny when a few years ago he tweeted, "I'm always extending my best wishes to all, even the haters of literature, on this special date, September the 11th. He wished haters and losers a happy 9/11.
There is a part of me that even likes this guy. It's a part of me I hate, but it is a part of me. And if you are someone who's sick of the party establishment, you might seem like a total secretary with some attractive points.
We like people out with a fight in there. It's just what it is. I honestly believe it's going to first. He's funding his own campaign. Nobody owns him. He's aggressive and he's strong and he's bold.
I think he's an incredible businessman. If he runs the country like he runs his organization, we're going to be in good shape.
Donald Trump can seem appealing until you take a closer look. Much like the lunch buffet at a strip club, or the NFL, or having a pet chimpanzee. Sure, it seems fun, but someday Coco's going to tear your fucking limbs off. Because let's look at each of those policies those people listed. First, he tells it like it is. Does he? Because the website PolitiFact checked 77 of his statements and rated 76% of them as varying degrees of false. And I've witnessed this firsthand. He once attacked my old boss by tweeting, "If Jon Stewart is so above it all and legit, why did he change his name from Jonathan Leibowitz? He should be proud of his heritage." And then 2 years later wrote, "I never attacked Dopey Jon Stewart for his phony last name. Would never do that." And then just last year he claimed falsely to have turned down an invite to appear on this very boring show. And who's he trying to impress with that lie? Our show's guests include sloths and puppies. We're basically a petting zoo with a desk. But when we pointed out that he had never been invited, this is how he responded.
All of a sudden I see people saying that John Oliver, or say John Oliver, and I checked with my people. He was going to be in the show 4 or 5 times. And I don't even hardly know who he was. I wouldn't know what he looks like.
Well, look, first, I wouldn't expect him to know who I was, although for his inevitable angry tweet about this segment, I'll tell him what I look like. I look like a nearsighted parrot who works at a bank. But secondly, it was genuinely destabilising to be on the receiving end of a lie that confident. I even checked to make sure that no one had even accidentally invited him. And of course they hadn't. And I'm not even sure he knows he's lying. I think he just doesn't care about what the truth is. Donald Trump views the truth like this lemur views the Supreme Court vacancy. I don't care about that in any way. Please f*** off, I have a banana. So let's move on. Let's move on to his next saying, that he is truly independent and not beholden to anyone, or as he puts it.
So funding my campaign, I tell the truth.
How much have you spent so far?
Probably $20, $25 million.
Okay, let's break that down. First, I'm rich, therefore I tell the truth. Has the same internal logic as I'm a vegan, therefore I know karate. There is no cause and effect between those two, and the correlation usually goes the other way. And while it is true that he hasn't taken corporate money, the implication that he has personally spent $20 to $25 million is a bit of a stretch, because what he's actually done is loaned his own campaign $17.5 million, and has just personally given just $250,000. And that's important, because up until the convention, he's been paying himself back for the loan with campaign funds. And if you don't think there's a significant difference between a gift and a loan, try giving a spouse an anniversary loan and see how that goes. And even he himself sometimes admits that his campaign is by no means completely self-funded.
I'm self-funding right now. Other than the little tiny ones where they send in, women send in, we had a woman, $7.59. What do you do? How can you send the money back? It's cute. It's beautiful. They feel invested in your campaign.
He makes it sound like women are stuffing grimy dollar bills in envelopes, writing Donald Trump on the front, and he's just too kind to send them back. But he's taken in $7.5 million in individual contributions. And if he didn't want it, maybe he shouldn't have had 2 donate buttons on his website. Because money isn't unsolicited when you have to ask for someone's credit card expiration date to receive it. Okay, so how about the claim that he is tough? Well, again, I'm not sure about that. Because for a tough guy, he has incredibly thin skin. Back in 1988, Spy magazine called him a short-fingered Bulgarian. And ever since, the editor Grady Carter says he receives envelopes from Trump, always with a photo.
That's the post.
To highlight the label of his
Moving the records loose here. I give them the trust.
And look, his fingers seem fine. But the very fact he's so sensitive sensitive about them is absolutely hilarious. As is the fact that those notes were apparently written in gold sharpie, which is so quintessentially Donald Trump. Something that gives the passing appearance of wealth, but is actually just a cheap tool.
Signature top tool.
His signature top tool often involves lawsuits. He loves to threaten to sue people, like he did with Rosie O'Donnell.
She said I was bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets.
Of course he needs to take Rosie O'Donnell to court to take money out of her pockets because his tiny, tiny fingers are too short to reach into her wallet. But he never sued her. He never sued Rosie O'Donnell. In fact, he's repeatedly threatened people with lawsuits and not followed through, including the rapper Mac Miller, Lawrence O'Donnell, Vanity Fair, and an activist who launched a petition for Macy's to drop Trump's products. I'll sue you is Trump's version of Bazinga. It doesn't really mean anything, but he says it all the time. But perhaps Trump's biggest selling point as a candidate is his success. And where could people get that idea?
I'm really rich. I have a big temperament. People love me. And you know what? I've been very successful. Everybody loves me. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Oh, please. Literally the biggest word in the sentence, I have the best words, is the word words. But it's worth noting, while yes, more money than most of us will make in a lifetime, not only did he get a multi-million-dollar inheritance from his father, but he's also lost a huge amount. And this is where we need to be careful. Because as we've learned, he will threaten to sue your fat-ass pockets with his cocktail sausage fingers if you talk about his company's bankruptcies. So I will just let his own daughter describe the state of his finances at one point in his life.
I remember once my father and I were walking down Fifth Avenue, and there was a homeless person sitting right outside of Trump Tower. And I remember my father pointing to him and saying, you know, that guy has $8 billion more than me. Because he would be such extreme debt at that point, you know?
And that really shows you the indomitable spirit of Donald Trump. To fall to his lowest point, and in that very moment still find a way to be kind of a dick to a homeless guy. Now his campaign claims his current worth is in excess of $10 billion, and they've written it in all caps, so it must be true. But others have disputed that figure. In fact, a book once suggested that Trump might be worth a mere $150 to $250 million, which Trump protested by suing the writer for $5 billion, which is a pretty roundabout way of getting half the way to $10 billion. And you should know, for the record, Trump lost that lawsuit twice, but I am glad that he sued, if only because during the deposition, he explained that his estimate of his net worth fluctuates based on, and I quote, feelings, even my own feelings, and that can change rapidly from day to day. Think about that. He claimed that his net worth changes depending on his mood, which makes absolutely no sense. Partly because he always seems to be in the same mood, specifically smug yet gassy. And interestingly, a significant portion of his self-valuation is intangible.
His brand is what he values very much. And on his disclosure form that he's released, it's about $3 billion. That's what he values his brand as.
Exactly. He values his own name at $3 billion. And I'm not saying a name can't have value. It's why people will pay $120 for a plain white T-shirt that is designed by Kanye West. They don't want just any white T-shirts. They want one designed by a bored sociopath with a finger-free anus. But $3 billion seems a bit high. Especially because while Trump has said, if I put my name on something, you know it's going to be good. Over the years, his name has been on some things that have arguably been very ungood, including Trump Shuttle, which no longer exists, Trump Vodka, which was discontinued, Trump Magazine, which folded, Trump World Magazine, which also folded, Trump University, over which he's being sued, and of course, the travel booking site GoTrump.com, whose brief existence was, I imagine, a real thorn in the side of anyone hoping GotRump.com featured a single thing worth masturbating to. And that's not even mentioning
mentioning this.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. Trump steaks are the world's greatest steaks, and I mean that in every sense of the word. And the Sharper Image is the only store where you can buy them.
And not only can you not buy those steaks anymore, but why did he sell them at the Sharper Image? That is a weird choice. I will take a massage chair, an indoor waterfall, and 8.5 pounds of the finest meat in America. And sure, every business executive is bound to have a few missteps, but Trump's lack of sound financial instincts is perhaps best exemplified by the business that he put his name on back in 2006, just before the entire housing market collapsed.
I think it's a great time to start a mortgage company. We're going to have a great company. It's Trump Mortgage and TrumpMortgage.com, and it's going to be a terrific company.
Yeah, it wasn't. In fact, starting a mortgage company in 2006 was one of the worst decisions you could possibly make. But I guess you can convince yourself it was a good idea when you say 30 words and 5 of them are great, great, terrific, Trump and Trump. And you might say, well, never mind side businesses. What he really is a builder. But a building with Trump written on it is not necessarily owned by him. He may have just licensed his name to them, something he claims is actually better than ownership. You don't put up money, you don't put up anything. Spoken like a true builder. And some of those licensed buildings sell his reputation hard, like the sales video for the Trump Ocean Resort in northern Mexico.
I'm very, very proud of the fact that when I build, I have investors that follow me all over. People ask me, what does Trump stand for more than anything else? And if I use one word, it's always quality.
Right, but it's easy to throw around the word quality. Have you ever stayed at a Quality Inn? The pillows are stuffed with hair they fished out of the bathtub drain. Now, he was never the builder for that project, which was later abandoned, leaving would-be condo buyers like William Flint, who lost $168,000, feeling understandably betrayed.
Donald Trump was an expert in these types of projects, or so we thought.
In a deposition for a lawsuit regarding the property, Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., conceded that the Trump brand could lead people to think a project was a solid investment.
There's one of the things that you've learned through this process is that the Trump name brings stability and or viability to the project.
I don't know if it brings stability or viability, but I imagine certain people feel that.
And that might actually be the most honest slogan for the Trump campaign. Trump 2016. I don't know if it brings stability or viability, but I imagine certain people feel that. Now, not only did investors in that property sue Donald Trump, they also did in Trump Tower, Tampa, another project that never got off the ground. And in both cases, Trump characteristically deflected blame onto the developers. And you would think those investors would be facing an impossible legal battle given Trump's tough talk.
When I get sued, I take it right, take it all the way. You know what happens? If you settle suits, you get sued more. It's true. I don't settle anything. I don't settle.
Guess what? He settled both those cases. But the problem is, even when you can demonstrably prove Trump to be wrong, it somehow never seems to matter. You can hold his feet to the fire, but he'll just stand there on the stumps, bragging about his fireproof foot skin. And that may be because he has spent decades turning his own name into a brand, synonymous with success and quality. And he's made himself the mascot for that brand, like Ronald McDonald or Chef Boyardee. And that is who we have seen in The Apprentice, or WrestleMania, or Home Alone 2. But if he's actually going to be the Republican nominee, it's time to stop thinking of the mascot and start thinking of the man. Because a candidate for president needs a coherent set of policies. Whatever you think about Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, at least you basically know where they stand. But Trump's opinions have been wildly inconsistent. He's been pro-choice and pro-life, for and against assault weapon bans, in favour of both bringing in Syrian refugees and deporting them out of the country. And that inconsistency can be troubling. Just this morning, for instance, he was asked about the fact that David Duke, former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, had told supporters to vote for him, and this was his answer.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Really? That's your best answer there, because you definitely know who he is. Partly because you called him a bigot and a racist in the past. But that's not even the fucking point. The point is, with an answer like that, you are either racist or you are pretending to be, and at some point, there is no difference there. And sure, he disavowed David Duke later in the day, but the scary thing is, we have no way of knowing which of his inconsistent views he will hold in office. Will he stand by his statement that vaccines are linked to autism? Or his belief that Mexico is sending us rapists? Oh, and what about that plan he had to defeat ISIS?
We're fighting a very politically correct war.
Yeah. Well, we see that
and the other
happening
thing is with the terrorists, you have to take out their families. When you get these terrorists, you have to take out their families. They care about their lives. Don't kid yourself. But they say they don't care about their lives. You have to take out their families.
That is the front runner for the Republican nomination advocating a war crime. And he might say he was joking or he's changed his mind about any of these things. And private individuals are allowed to change their minds. We all do it. But when he's sworn in as president on January 20th, 2017, on that day, his opinions are going to matter. And you will remember that date, because it's the one that time travelers from the future will come back to try and stop the whole thing from happening. And listen, I get that the character of Donald Trump is entertaining and that he says things that people want to hear. And I know his very name is powerful. Just listen to this one supporter explain what it means to her.
I was a little girl.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even know what Trump Towers were, but I knew that he was a wealthy, successful man.
Somehow, like, there was even as a very young kid, the word Trump sort of meant rich to you.
It meant success.
She's not even wrong. Trump does sound rich. It's almost onomatopoeic. Trump. It's the sound produced when a mouthy servant is slapped across the face with a wad of $1,000 bills. Trump. It's the sound of a cork popping on a couple's champagne anniversary, the date renovations in the wine cellar were finally completed. The very name Trump is the cornerstone of his brand. If only there were a way to uncouple that magical word from the man he really is. Well, guess what? There is. Because it turns out the name Trump was not always his family's name. One biographer found that a prescient ancestor had changed it from, and this is true, Drump. Yes. Drump. And Drump is much less magical. It's the sound produced when a morbidly obese pigeon flies into the window of a foreclosed Old Navy. Drump. It's the sound of a bottle of store brand root beer falling off the shelf in a gas station mini-mart. And it may seem weird to bring up his ancestral name, but to quote Donald Trump, he should be proud of his heritage. Because Trump is much more reflective of who he actually is. So if you are thinking of voting for Donald Trump, the charismatic guy promising to make America great again, stop and take a moment to imagine how you would feel if you just met a guy named Donald Trump. A litigious serial liar with a string of broken business ventures and the support of a former Klan leader who he can't decide whether or not to condemn. Would you think he would make a good president, or is the spell now somewhat broken? And that is why tonight I'm asking America to make Donald Trump again. Hashtag make Donald Trump again. We've actually filed paperwork to trademark the name Trump. And incidentally, when we own it, I will have the best word. And if you go to donaldjtrump.com, which we own, you can download a Drumpfinator Chrome extension, which will replace the word Trump with Drumpf wherever it appears in your browser. And you can also buy these Make Donald Trump Again hats, which we are selling at cost, meaning we've chosen not to make a profit, a fact which will probably irritate Mr. Trump more than anything else I've said tonight. And if you're thinking, well, that's all great, but I wish there was a new campaign anthem for Donald Trump, well, here it is now. Here it is right now. Because listen, we cannot keep getting blinded by the magic of his name. We need to see him through fresh eyes. So please, don't think of him as Donald Trump. Think of him as something else. And don't vote for him to be chosen like it is. He's a bullshit guy. Don't vote for him because he's tough. He's a baby with even smaller fingers. Don't vote for him because he's a builder. He's more of a shitty lifestyle brand. And that is our show. Mr. Trump, I await your lawsuit in the morning. I have no doubt the complaint will be signed in gold Sharpie. Good night.
Chris, what is our report that you topic today?
We're talking about Trevor. Didn't Smith just drop that his son's gonna be Miles Morales? I know there's been some talk for a while that Jaden could be a live-action Miles, but I honestly never really paid much attention to those rumors. But with what Will Smith just said, it's kind of hard to ignore that it could be possible. If it is, I don't know how I feel about it. What do you think? Is Jaden Smith our new Miles Morales?
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Trevor. Look, for a long time now, there's been a lot of talk about when are we going to get a live-action Miles Morales, right? And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, to me, is definitely in the top two best Spider-Man movies. It's either Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Those are, to me, no doubt, the two best Spider-Man movies. And that Into the Spider-Verse thing was such an introduction for a lot of people to Miles Morales. And I love the character. But in the conversations about a live-action Miles, I really felt that they were going to do a live-action Miles, at least for a while. Sony is very, very happy with what they've got going in the animation world. It won them an Academy Award. It was really successful. And now, what's it called? Across the Spider-Verse? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? The sequel's coming out, and everybody's stoked about it. I'm dying to see it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was my third favorite movie in 2018, only behind A Quiet Place and Black Klansman. And yes, that means I had it ahead of Black Panther, and I had it ahead of Infinity War. That's how good I think this movie is. Not everybody agrees, and that's fine, but I don't care. That's how good I thought this movie was. But I never really thought they would do a live-action Miles Morales anytime soon. Despite that, rumors have persisted that they are going to look at that. Now, I've heard nothing definitive from any reliable source that says that, but the rumors do persist. Then a while ago, Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son, who, by the way, I thought was all kind of fantastic in his Karate Kid remake. Who won he won? I thought he was really good in that. He put out a social media post with him wearing a Spider-Man mask. They got a lot of people kind of talking. There have been whispers about that since. But now Will Smith himself, the Fresh Prince, has thrown some gasoline on that project. Academy Award nominee. Multi-time Academy Award nominee, Will Smith, has thrown some gas on that fire. And this is what we got. This comes us to CBR, right, Paul? Will Smith fueled rumors that his son, actor Jaden Smith, who's now 23 years old, by the way, everybody, is in talks for a major role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My son, wrote Smith, is preparing himself physically and mentally to get a place as one of the characters who will make history for the first time in the saga of a movie that many already know and ask for, Smith said in a statement reported by Pop Time. Earlier this year, Jaden Smith encouraged rumors that he was being considered for a Marvel role by sharing a photo of himself and a movie-accurate Spider-Man mask. The photo was shared just days after the Scooper account, My Time to Shine Alone, tweeted that Marvel had indeed had talks with Jaden Smith for no less than that role. So that's been out there. Now, if you want to add a little bit more fuel onto that fire, there are a couple of other things anecdotally to take into consideration about if this could be true, okay? And that's this. Listen to this. Now, again, this comes to us from CBR. Let me say
names unconfirmed by Marvel Studios, and Smith could play any number of major Marvel characters as the MCU moves further to Phase 4. But then get this. Tom Holland has also been open about his desire to make room for another Spider-People to join the MCU. I don't want to say goodbye to Spider-Man, but I feel like we might be ready to say goodbye to Spider-Man, Holland said in a December 2021 issue. I don't want to be responsible for holding back the next young person that comes in who deserves it just as much. I would love to see a future Spider-Man that's more diverse. Maybe you have Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman. We've had 3 Spider-Mans in a row. We've all been the same. It'd be nice to see something different. There is an argument to be made that if Jaden Smith is indeed going to be a live-action Miles Morales, which, let's be clear, has been confirmed by, hold a second, I want to get his name right, nobody. That has been confirmed by nobody, all right? But if you want to put on the tinfoil hat, if what Will Smith right now is building up is indeed Jaden Smith being Miles Morales, it could be that this has been set in stone for 5-6 months, and that when Tom Holland was making those statements prior to Spider-Man No Way Home coming out that everybody talked about, theoretically it could have been in relation to Jaden Smith becoming Miles Morales. What do I think about this? All right. I'm still of the mind that I still don't see Sony doing a live-action Miles Morales yet. They're just having so much success with him in the animated realm. So I still kind of feel like it's not going to happen. But while all this is purely anecdotal, for sure, and nothing solid or concrete, I must confess that when you line up all these pieces of information together, it is conceivable. It is, in the words of Star Wars, it is possible, however unlikely, that this is conceivable, that can be done there. And listen, I would also say this, if it did turn out to be true, I would caution anybody from just instantly rejecting the notion of it being Jaden Smith. For the same reasons that I think people should have been cautious about instantly rejecting the idea of Robert Pattinson playing Batman. I think Jaden Smith has had room to improve and grow. And it's been a couple of years, and he's started turning into some interesting things. Too many people still look at him as just Will Smith's kid. And while he has not truly proved himself yet, could be worth giving a shot to. So again, I don't think it's happening, but I think there's enough there that I don't think you're crazy if you do believe it's happening. And if it is Jaden Smith, I say we give him a shot. And let's see what he can do. So, I don't know, Rob, listen, there's a lot to take in here with this whole thing. So, what do you think? What do you think about Will Smith's comments? Do you think he could be Miles Morales? Do you think they're going to do live-action Miles Morales? If so, is he going to? I mean, a lot to unpack here. What do you think?
Well, it would not surprise me in this day and age, John, if what would be called Across the Spider-Verse ends with a live-action Miles Morales, whether it's in a post-credit scene or whatever. Because it is, after all, across the Spider-Verse, the multiverse is big now. And if only Will Smith had ever had a long-standing relationship with Sony in, say, another franchise property that they did, you never know. Because if there was a live-action Miles Morales movie, and Jaden Smith did play Miles Morales, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, perhaps his own father would appear in that film as his father. That is a package that's worth investing lots of money into, not just a Spider-Man movie. I think Miles Morales being played by Jaden Smith is a great idea. And like you said, he was really good in The Karate Kid. Sure, is he been wacky in his personal life? Yeah. But what kids, especially one kid who grows up in the shadow of someone like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, I mean, Hollywood royalty. But I like this idea. I mean, I think what are you laughing at? Sundown made a comment, and I just said it in my head. He's like, Karate boy? Karate Kid reboot? I call it After Earth. Was it After Earth? Yeah. I like that movie. Just a lot of credibility might have gone out the window, but that was a Sham Hammer exclusive. No, but I think it could happen. I think it makes a lot of sense from a number of different
necessarily think Across the Spider-Verse would end with him playing a live, but maybe he's even in Across the Spider-Verse playing a live action Miles Morales. That could be it too. I wouldn't put it past them. If we think there's going to be an animated sequence of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, why not a live action sequence in the middle of Across the Spider-Verse that he's actually going to play Miles Morales in?
The one thing I would disagree with you on is the only time ever in our long-standing relationship that I will disagree with you here is that I do not think it would be a good idea to have Will Smith in this. Because for so long, the perception, fair or unfair, the perception was Jaden Smith only gets to be in movies if Daddy makes it happen.
Sure.
And it is true that there were reports that there were certain things Will Smith turned down because, and we won't name the movie specifically, but it says, unless my kid gets to be in it too, I'm not going to do it. And that's one of the things that really hung over After Earth as well. And I think if you're going to get Jaden Smith to be Miles Morales, you've got to separate him from Will. I think it almost becomes imperative that you have to not have Will Smith out.
I mean, that could be. I mean, I don't think that, but I'm just saying from a studio point of view, it's an attractive package.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Anything with Will Smith is an attractive package. Let's be honest about that, Chris.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot here to unpack. I mean, what do you think about this whole thing? Could it be real? If it was, is Jaden the right guy to do it? It's just pure fantasy. What do you think?
No, it definitely could be real. I mean, anyone could be playing this part. Anyone can wear the mask. That's the whole point. I do not think this is the best casting if this is the way we're going. And if he's preparing for the role and taking it on and getting ready for it, good for him. And I will obviously root for him and wait to see what he brings to the table. That said, if we were going to stick to the Across the Spider-Verse version, get Shamik in there. He's only 25. And I know that sounds older than Miles, but you gotta remember, right? Actors are constantly playing younger than they are.
Yeah.
Usually most people look younger than they
Tom
are.
Holland's in his mid-20s.
Exactly. So I think that would work. But also, it's really important that Miles is also Puerto Rican. He's black and Puerto Rican, so I think getting an Afro-Latino actor in there is really important. And I agree with a bunch of the people in the chat here. Who I really want is Miles Brown. The kid who played Jack on Blackish.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That's
I think he'd be wonderful. He's got a great dance background too, so he's really great at movement. He's a wonderful actor, and he is black, Mexican, and Filipino. And I think he would bring a really, really fun energy to this too, because he's got this like 100-watt smile. He's so fun and
You're asking for trouble bringing Filipinos into anything. So you're asking for nightmares and headaches. It's just
I think it's really important that aspect of Miles though is represented, and I feel like Marvel's going to include that in their search. So, and again, chat, we're on the same page today. I love this idea of Jaden or someone else coming in from Static Shock. I think something like that.
That was another one where
that
they were around for a while. Remember that?
I love that character. I love the Milestone universe. I would love to see a live action Static.
I think that'd be really cool.
I like that. Well, I mean, Michael B. Jordan's been working on something about that for a while. And Jade Smith was another name that was attached to it for a while. So I don't know. Questions for you guys. What do you think about this? I don't personally think this is happening, but there's enough there that I get it that it's worth the discussion. Do you think, number one, they could be doing a live action Miles already? And number two, do you think it could be Jaden Smith? If so, what do you guys think about it? Whatever your thought.
So today we are going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the 2024 Republican ticket, because it's already shaping up. The candidates who are interested in the presidency are kind of making it clear and you have two distinct groups that will be trying to dislodge what is presumed to be a Donald Trump attempt to get the nomination. The first group is Cheney, Hogan, and Kinsey. These are people who really, to be honest, I don't think they really care necessarily about winning the presidency. I think this is more about attempting to salvage the Republican Party and make sure that Trump can't stand it. All three have made it pretty clear that they're at least entertaining the idea of running. Now, Hogan and Kinzinger, they're not going to be seeking re-election. Cheney will be. Some people are reading that as the two that aren't are more serious about the presidential run. I would suggest that maintaining an election staff could be scaled up for a presidential run. I don't know if I agree with that analysis. The other thing that's important to note here is that all three of this group, they're pretty friendly. They won't be slinging a lot of mud at each other. So they may make it a little bit further than people might anticipate. It's also important to note, again, their goal isn't necessarily to win, I don't think. It's just to block Trump. Now, people who are outside of this group, who are likely to get somewhere in a primary run, the two obvious ones are Pence and DeSantis. There's a lot of people throwing Christie's name in there. I'm going to be honest, I don't see that. Maybe he attempts the run. I don't see it going anywhere. Now, Pence and DeSantis will also be taking shots at Trump. They'll be trying to knock him out of the way because they're going to try to appeal to that same base. So they will definitely be slinging mud at each other.